Dzień dobry, to Magda i kanał Angielski tylko dla dorosłych. I dzisiaj pierwszy odcinek cyklu Osłuchaj się z językiem angielskim. How to understand the war in Ukraine. On February the 24th, 2022, the Russian army entered Ukraine, attacking many Ukrainian cities, such as the capital of Kiev. And this is not the first time Ukraine is fighting for its freedom. It has been a strategic country in the ideological conflict between East and West Europe for over 100 years. In 1917, the Russian Revolution stopped the Tsar and created the Soviet Union, the USSR. Ukraine joined the Soviet Union in 1922, and in the next 25 years, the USSR grew in Eurasia and created many communist governments in Eastern Europe. And at the same time, the West was building capitalist democracies, and this created an ideological division in Europe. The Cold War, which started in 1947 and ended in 1991, was a conflict between Eastern communist governments and Western capitalist democracies. The capitalist democracies, much of Western Europe, as well as the US and Canada, formed the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. And the communist governments, so the Soviet Union and 7 other Eastern Bloc republics, formed the Warsaw Pact. So yes, this happened in Poland. And the idea of NATO and the Warsaw Pact are that if one country attacks another country from your club, then all the countries attack that country. So they had to defend allies from invasion. An attack against one ally is an attack against all allies. So after World War II, the ideological division between the capitalist democracies and the communist governments created 2 military alliances, NATO and the Warsaw Pact. And these alliances survived for decades. But in 1991, the USSR came to an end and was divided into 15 countries, so 15 independent countries. NATO was alive and well and was becoming bigger and bigger. Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic joined NATO in 1999. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Romania, and Bulgaria joined in 2004. Even Russia wanted to join NATO more than once in the 1990s. The problem was that the West and the East had different ideas about the future of post-Soviet republics. Russia became more and more anti-West. And in 2005, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the end of the USSR was the biggest tragedy of the century. He said that it is the, quote, the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century, end quote. He wanted to make Russia strong again in Europe. But there was a problem. Ukraine and Georgia said they wanted to join NATO. And of course, Russia didn't like this. In 2008, they invaded Georgia, saying they wanted to defend South Ossetia and Abkhazia, which are Russian-speaking regions that wanted to be independent. In 2014, a pro-Russian president was exiled out of Ukraine after mass protests. And at the same time, Russia invaded and annexed Crimea. And this started an 8-year military conflict on the Russian-Ukrainian border. And thousands of people were killed and millions had to run from their homes. And this also obviously stopped Ukraine from joining NATO. And in late 2021, Russia demanded that NATO leave Eastern Europe. NATO said no. And as a result, the military tension between NATO and Russia became stronger and stronger. And this resulted in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It is the biggest invasion in Europe since World War II. NATO has activated its response force for the first time in history. This is a technologically advanced multinational force made up of land, air, maritime, and special operations forces components. Many countries around the world have put economic sanctions on Russia. Since the attack on February the 24th, there have been thousands of deaths and millions of people have run from their homes. Vladimir Putin continues to say that he is protecting the Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and that is the main reason for the invasion. Thank you for listening, and subscribe if you enjoyed this listening comprehension exercise. Do zobaczenia.